Trina here from Scrappy Horses. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm so happy you're joining me today. I'm working on something a little different for the challenge over at the Outlaws Anything Goes in a Card-Free Zone. So basically anything goes there, just no greeting cards. And our optional theme this month is travel. So I've decided to sort of create a little bag out of an old pair of blue jeans. Now, this is pretty simple, so if you just have a sewing machine and have beginner sewing skills, you'll be able to pull this one off. This one is not a tough one at all. So I wanted to start with a little bit of embellishment here that I'm creating in Cricut Design Space. And so let's just get started there, and then I'll show you how I put the actual bag together. I'm starting off with this rectangle piece, and this is just to show how big the actual bag is going to be. So it's going to measure approximately 7¼ by 11.75 inches. And the pocket, I measured it, and the pocket on it measures 6.5 by 6.5. So the widest part here is 6.5 and the length is 6.5. I pulled this pocket. It's from Valentina Scuteri, and I'm sorry if I'm butchering that name, but I pulled the pocket so that I would know how big to make this piece that I want to iron onto the pocket. So I just pulled it sort of for a reference. I didn't cut any of it. So let's go over to the piece that I actually did cut and figure out how I put that together to make this work. I decided I wanted something that said adventure, because when you think of travel, you think of adventures, and it would go along with my horsey stuff that I want to throw in the bag. So I found this adventure awaits, and it has this arrow, and that is from Cheese Toast Digitals. And then I pulled this horse head that I've used before from Wispy Willow Designs. All right, so I've already gone in and pulled those. If you're not sure how to do that, you just click on images. I type in adventure, and there it is. You click it, add to canvas, and then there it is. All right. So here it is right here. And actually, this is 3 different pieces. It's the adventure, the arrow, and the awaits. So what I did is I came up here and I clicked ungroup. That's going to pull it into the different pieces. I know that I don't want my arrow in, so I just pulled the arrow out. Now, I want to tell you something about this arrow before we go any further, in case you see this and you think, oh, I just want to use this with the arrow. This arrow is different pieces. See here where I've got the arrow chosen and it says here, ungroup. Look at all those pieces. So if you decide that you want that to be your cut vinyl, you might want to combine this first. So all you need to do is come down and say combine, weld, and then that'll put it all into one piece. Okay, that's just a heads up in case you're wanting to use that piece. But we're not going to use it, so we're just going to delete it. All right, so now I've got my adventure awaits. I'm going to take this away, and I'm going to combine these two. Now they're grouped together. Now I know I want my horse head in, and I'm going to just stick that in here like so. Maybe make them a tiny bit bigger. And now we can take all of this and we can combine by clicking this. Now we can move this up to the pocket. This is where the pocket is good to have. And we can start to see, oh, how big do we want this? All right. So I think this is pretty good. It's pretty close. So I think let's go ahead and go with this size. You can see that it's coming up about 5 inches by about 2 1/4. All right, now we could just cut this way. We could combine this and cut it this way. However, if I do that, then it's going to cut the adventure, awaits, and the horse. All right, let me show you what I'm talking about. First, I will make it all the same color. So let's ungroup for a minute. Let's choose our horse, make our horse black. Good, now let's just combine this all again. Group it all. We're gonna group it. And let's hide everything else for now. So now let's pretend like we're ready to make it, and we're gonna hit make. See how it's gonna cut? That's not gonna work for us. Because, well, it's not gonna work for me because I want it exactly in place with the actual backing so that I can iron it on. So I'm going to say cancel. And what I'm going to do is bring this back up and I'm going to pull in some shapes. I'm going to pull in this like so. And then all I'm going to do is add another shape right here. I'm going to left click the square. I'm holding the shift key on my keyboard and I am left clicking the other square, which is now a rectangle. I'm going to say combine down here. Come up and left click weld. All right, so now I have this shape and I'll move it to the back so you can see. All right, I'm going to make that a tiny bit wider here. Just a tiny bit taller. Now, because you cannot slice out grouped layers, I'm going to go ahead and take this group. I'm going to combine and weld it. Now I'm going to come in and slice. All right, so all I did was I took that group. Let's go back and do that again. I'll undo here. This group right now is just a group and it's combined. They will not let you slice out a group, okay? Because right now that's 3 different things. It's adventure, awaits, and the horse. But if I take this and I come down here and all I have is I've selected the group, I say combine it, I left click combine, left click weld. Now I sweep over the box and this, I can now slice it. That's all I have to cut. I get rid of this so I can delete that. So now all I need to do is cut this, right? So I'm going to go to make, continue. Alrighty, so here we are. We're going to set our base material. We are going to do glitter iron-on. Now, if you don't already have this in your bookmarked, you can always browse all materials and find it there. But I have it bookmarked, so let's just click glitter iron-on. Ooh, make sure mirror is turned on and iron-on material is face shiny side down. So what that means is you're going to come over here to edit and you're going to left click the mirror and it turns it the other way. You'll click done. And now when you put the vinyl onto your Cricut mat, you're going to put it shiny side down. That way it cuts through your vinyl and it leaves your transfer sheet uncut. All right, so then at this point, you'll just go ahead over to your machine, you'll load it, you'll cut it, and you'll be ready to put it on the project. So I'll meet you at the craft table and we will do that. Here we are at the craft table. This is my piece of sparkle vinyl, and you can sort of see there the cuts that are there. I have some sewing pins, a tape measure, and it's sort of a jute ribbon, along with my scissors and a measuring tape. And then I have my 2 pieces of denim that I have cut from an old pair of blue jeans. This is measuring 8.5 inches wide, and the length is 13.5 inches. Then my little pieces of ribbon here, or actually large pieces of ribbon, are about 19 inches, and I believe that the handles are probably about 1.5 inches wide, maybe. I'm not quite sure. I will list that below. I'll measure those and look below. All right, I'm going to come in now and weed out the vinyl that I do not need. And I keep this vinyl, actually. Sometimes I put it behind little Christmas lights or things that I cut, just to give it that extra bit of sparkle on cards. You know, sometimes I do that. I'm actually weaving out the letters now in the adventure, and now that's all ready to stick onto the pocket. I'll go ahead and put that on. Then I'm going to go ahead and press a 3/8 inch hem in the top part. All right, so I've already ironed on my decal, and I've ironed a 3/8 inch little hem in the top. I'm going to go ahead then, once I've got this one pinned into place, I'm going to fold it over, and I'm going to go ahead and do the exact same thing to the other side. Again, lining up the edge with the edge of where the pocket is. And I'll pin that one into place. Then I'm going to do the same thing to my other side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay that one directly on top, right sides together, and just do exactly what I did before, but sort of in reverse. You can see that I'm doing that. Then I'm going to take this over to my sewing machine, and I am going to zigzag those pieces onto my denim. All right, so I'm leaving it unfolded, and I'm just going to zigzag it. All right, so there it is. It's all zigzagged. I just did that, number 1, to keep my denim from fraying, and number 2, it will hold those handles into place now while I'm going to go ahead and fold it over again and then top stitch. But it will hold that ribbon, the handles, into place. So you can see that I'm just rolling over another 3/8 inch. That's all I'm doing. No more measuring because I don't like to measure. And I will then double stitch. Now you can see that I have left the carrier sheet on. That's because I'm going to be ironing this again, and I don't want to accidentally iron over that the vinyl transfer. So I'll just keep that carrier sheet on there. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and stick some pins in, and now I'll do that double stitch along. Now what I mean by double stitch is I'm going to stitch right along the edge of the garment or the piece that I'm sewing. It's actually not a garment, it's a bag. And then I will sew again right next to where I rolled it over. Okay, so you'll see, I hope you'll be able to see it when I show you later on. I'm going to go ahead and do the very same thing to the other bag. All right, so I've got this pinned into place, and now I'm going to head over to the sewing machine and put those 2 rows of stitching in. I will say at this point, while I'm pinning this in, you might want to use a denim needle on your sewing machine. That might be helpful. So now I'm going to go in and put in that first row of stitching, and I'll remove the pins as I sew down Then I'll go down and do a second row of stitching. So here's my front, and I'll do 2 rows of stitching on each, and there they are, done. I'm clipping away the threads, and there are the 2 rows. You can see those little red arrows right there. I've done 2 rows of stitching on both the front and the back. Now what I'm going to do is cut away part of this transfer sheet so it doesn't get caught up in the edges. I'm going to line it up the front and back, but I'm going to be sewing right sides together. It's more important that you match the top of your bag exactly, and if you have a little overhang on the bottom, not a big deal. It really isn't. But you don't want that overhang on the top. You want to get those to match up as closely as possible. That way, it just makes it look neater and cleaner. The bottom, it's not such a big deal. Again, I'm going to use a stitch on my sewing machine that actually does a straight stitch with a zigzag stitch at the same time. And again, that kind of keeps it from fraying. If you don't have that stitch on your machine, you can always use a zigzag and a straight stitch. Now I've gone ahead and I've mitered my corners. All that means is I've cut a diagonal across the corners. That's going to make it, the points be a little bit sharper and cleaner after I fold it out. Now, if you don't have a sewing tool to do that, you can always pull a bone folder from your paper crafting supplies and sort of push those corners out to get them straight and nice and clean. Now we can go ahead and we can remove that carrier sheet now because we're all done. We're all done ironing and pressing. If something doesn't end up the way you want it, then you can definitely lay the carrier sheet back on and go back and repress. You can see here that I'm sort of checking it out to make sure that the letters really did stick the way I wanted them to. So we've got a little pocket there, and then we've got the bag. It's sort of an unusual shape of bag, but it's really nice for carrying things like sunscreen, sunglasses, a billfold. You can put some longer things in there, which works out really nicely. All right, any comments or questions, let me know. I don't do mini sewing videos, so this isn't gonna be an incredibly great explanation of the sewing. So if you do have questions, please let me know, and I will get back with you on that. Thanks so much for joining me, and I'll catch up with you in the next video. Bye.